Dear friends, welcome to the heart of Europe, the beautiful city of Brussels. Today, we embark on a journey through time and space, visiting two unique places that have become symbols of this city in all of Europe. First, we set off for the majestic Atomium, a symbol of modern science and progress. This gigantic structure, created for the 1958 World Expo, represents an iron atom magnified billions of times.
After that, we will step into the enchanting world of miniatures, where the Parc Mini-Europe awaits you. Here, within a small area, the most famous landmarks of the European Union countries are replicated on a scale of 1/25. You can stroll through the streets of Paris and Berlin, admire the Eiffel Tower and Big Ben, visit the Colosseum and the Acropolis, all in just one day. Mini-Europe offers a unique opportunity to explore all of Europe at once without leaving Brussels. Here, you can feel how vast yet close Europe is, discover fascinating facts, and even witness history coming to life. We hope this journey will be both exciting and educational for you. You will learn many new things about Europe's history and culture while collecting unforgettable impressions. So, let's set off, onward to new discoveries.
The Atomium and Mini-Europe Park are located in the Laken district, northwest of Brussels' historic city center. You can reach these attractions using various means of transportation. The fastest way is by metro from the central station, although it requires one transfer. Take Metro Line 1 towards Gare de l'Ouest or Metro Line 5 towards Erasmus and travel for about 5 to 7 minutes until you reach Beacon Station.
At Beacon Station, transfer to Metro Line 6 towards Roy Baudouin and ride for about 10 minutes until you reach Heysel Station. As the train approaches the stop, you will already be able to see your destination, the Atomium.
What is this strange construction? How is it possible that 9 enormous spheres seem to float in the air? This technical marvel was created for the 1958 World Expo in Brussels. The Atomium was designed by Belgian engineer André Waterkeen as a symbol of the atomic age and the peaceful use of nuclear energy. The construction of the structure was overseen by the architects, brothers André and Jean Polak.
The structure, originally covered with an aluminum layer and later given a steel shell during a major renovation in 2006, consists of 9 spheres symbolizing atoms. These atoms are arranged in a way that represents a cubic section of an iron crystal lattice, magnified 165 billion times. The Atomium stands 102 meters tall, weighs approximately 2,400 tons, and each of its 9 spheres has a diameter of 18 meters. 6 of these spheres are accessible to visitors. The spheres are connected by 23-meter-long tubes, which house escalators and walkways. In total, there are 20 connecting tunnels. A central tube contains an elevator that takes visitors to the restaurant and observation deck in the top sphere in just 25 seconds. Originally, the Atomium was intended for only 6 months of use during the 1958 World Expo and was supposed to be dismantled afterward. However, its popularity and success made it an integral part of the Brussels skyline. Plans for its demolition were repeatedly postponed until they were ultimately abandoned. Between 2001 and 2006, the Atomium underwent extensive renovations and became, alongside Manneken Pis and the Grand Place, a symbol of Belgium's capital. The Atomium embodies the boldness of an era that sought to challenge the fate of humanity through scientific discoveries. Today, it offers the best panoramic view of Brussels, along with a diverse range of exhibitions and installations.
Opposite the Atomium stands the grand building of the Brussels Exhibition Center. This complex consists of 12 exhibition halls on the Heysel Plateau, hosting numerous major national and international events each year. 5 symbolic palaces, grouped around a pond, are a legacy of the 1935 World Expo and were built in the Art Deco style. The main building is Palace No. 5, also known as the Grand Palais, which is still in use today. For the 1958 World Expo, many additional buildings were constructed. The non-profit organization Brussels Expo, also known as the Brussels Exhibition Centre, remains active and plays a key role in the economic and cultural life of Brussels by organizing a wide range of trade fairs, exhibitions, and cultural events.
Other attractions in the immediate vicinity include the Brussels Cinema Centre, the Design Museum, the Planetarium of the Royal Observatory of Belgium, the King Baudouin Stadium.
But now, we set off for Mini Europa Park, promising us many exciting impressions. This park features scaled reproductions of the most famous architectural landmarks of the European Union, all at a 1/25 scale. The exhibition includes representations of around 80 cities and 350 buildings, including the Eiffel Tower, the Colosseum, the Acropolis in Athens, the Berlin Wall, the Doge's Palace in Venice, and many more. Upon entering the park, we are greeted by the 27 flags of the EU member states. Near the entrance, two significant symbols of European integration stand out: the headquarters of the European Commission, the house where Jean Monnet wrote his famous speech, which laid the foundation for the European Union's creation.
The original idea for the park came from Dutch entrepreneur Johannes Lorisel, who proposed in 1986 the creation of a miniature park on the Heysel site in Brussels. Mini Europe is famous for the high quality of its models, some of which cost up to €400,000, such as the Grand Place in Brussels. The park features numerous animated scenes, including moving trains and windmills, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, ships and boats, remote-controlled trucks, a rocket launch, and much more. But behind the miniature world of monuments and animated scenes lies the history of Europe, highlighting its core values such as democracy, entrepreneurship, cultural heritage, spirit of adventure and discovery, Christian heritage, technological progress. The park also showcases Europe's most important historical eras, including ancient Greece and Rome, the Viking Age, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the Age of Enlightenment, the French Revolution, modern events. This place is fascinating for both adults and children, as it combines entertainment, education, and stunning architecture. In addition to the miniature landmarks, the park features dwarf trees, bonsai, and specially cultivated plants, while classic hedges and flower beds enhance the experience of strolling through Mini Europe.
The Kingdom of Denmark has been a member of the European Union since 1973. It has a population of 5.7 million people, and its capital is Copenhagen. Denmark serves as a strategic gateway to the Baltic Sea and has a rich Viking heritage. The Vikings were Scandinavian warriors and seafarers who, from the 8th to the 11th century, set out from Scandinavia on maritime expeditions across Europe. They raided coastal towns and settlements, plundered them, and returned home with their spoils. However, the Vikings were not just warriors, they were also traders, craftsmen, and farmers. The Scandinavian Vikings significantly influenced the social and political structures of European peoples by forcing them to defend themselves, organize, and centralize their power. As skilled navigators, they played a crucial role in trade, particularly through the circulation of precious metals and the creation of new trade routes connecting ports and commercial cities. This helped bring the Scandinavian countries closer to the rest of Europe. Additionally, their advanced laws and legal systems laid the foundation for today's jury courts.
The most famous reconstructed Viking village from the year 980 AD is located in Trelleborg. It is a circular fortress with 31 longhouses, built in the medieval Scandinavian style and surrounded by moats and fortifications. Between 500 and 800 warriors lived here, often accompanied by their wives and children. Before setting off on their sea voyages, the King of Norway and Denmark, Harald Bluetooth, built a total of 5 such fortresses in the 10th century. He is also credited with introducing Christianity to Denmark.
The Copenhagen Stock Exchange, Børsen, was built between 1619 and 1640 and is an outstanding example of Nordic Renaissance architecture. To revitalize the Danish economy, King Christian IV ordered the construction of the Copenhagen Stock Exchange. To emphasize his title as King of the three Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, he had 3 crowns placed at the top of the copper spire. Pay close attention to the 4 intertwined dragon tails on the spire. They symbolize protection of the building against attacks and fires.
The Nyhavn waterfront in Copenhagen was built between 1670 and 1673. The many wooden ships and the colorful facades of the buildings along the promenade reflect Nyhavn's importance as a trading port in the 17th and 18th centuries. The famous Danish writer Hans Christian Andersen, known for his novels and fairy tales, lived in Nyhavn. It was here that he wrote, among other works, the fairy tale, The Princess and the Pea. He created many classic European fairy tales, which have been translated into 125 languages.
Sweden, located on the roof of Europe, is a sparsely populated but highly industrialized country. Its capital is Stockholm, and it has been a member of the European Union since 1995. The country has a population of 10 million people. In the 19th century, Alfred Nobel was born and lived here. He was a wealthy industrialist and the inventor of dynamite. He dedicated his entire fortune to the establishment of the Nobel Prizes. These prestigious international awards are given to individuals who have contributed to the betterment of humanity in the following fields: physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, economics, peace efforts. The Stockholm City Hall, Stadshuset, was built between 1911 and 1923 in the national Romantic Scandinavian style. Since its construction, it has hosted the annual Nobel Banquet. At the top of the City Hall Tower, you can see 3 crowns, which have been Sweden's national symbol since the 14th century.
Finland has been a member of the European Union since 1995, with a population of 5.5 million people, and its capital is Helsinki. For centuries, Finland has served as a buffer state between Russia and Sweden. It is one of the few countries in the world that naturally increases its land area, expanding by approximately 10 square kilometers per year due to the Baltic Sea. This phenomenon is caused by the post-glacial rebound, the rising of the Earth's crust in northern Europe after the melting of glaciers that covered much of the continent 40,000 years ago. Olavinlinna Castle, located in Savonlinna, was built between 1475 and 1485 in the Gothic military style. The castle has strategic importance as it sits on a waterway connecting multiple lakes, forming a defensive line against Russia. Today, Olavinlinna Castle is a popular venue for summer opera festivals, attracting visitors from around the world.
Estonia has been a member of the European Union since 2004, with a population of 1.3 million people, and its capital is Tallinn. The Estonian language shares its origins with Finnish and, to a lesser extent, Hungarian. Along with Latvia and Lithuania, Estonia is one of the Baltic countries, which were conquered during the Middle Ages by the Livonian Brothers of the Sword, a branch of the Teutonic Order. Cities developed around this order, and its influence is still visible today in many architectural structures. One of the most iconic landmarks is the Fat Margaret Tower, Pax Margarita, in Tallinn, built between 1511 and 1530 in the Gothic military style. It is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Tallinn's historic center. The Fat Margaret Tower and the Old Seaport, which was reconstructed in 1529, are among the best preserved parts of the medieval fortified city. This defensive structure was built by the Teutonic Knights, as Tallinn was an important trade hub on the route to Russia.
The Republic of Latvia has been a member of the European Union since 2004, has a population of 2.1 million people, and the capital is Riga. In Latvia and Estonia, singing became an instrument of resistance against the Soviet occupation, allowing the preservation of traditional culture, language, and religion. The song festivals in these countries have been included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. The political impact of the Baltic Way, a living human chain that united the three countries on August 23, 1989, led to the Singing Revolution in 1991, during which the Baltic states regained their independence. The Baltic Way, in 1989, nearly 2 million people formed a peaceful, living chain with a length of 675 kilometers, stretching through Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, demanding national independence from Soviet occupation. The Freedom Monument in Riga was built in 1935 in the Art Deco style. This monument is dedicated to the soldiers who fell in the Latvian War of Independence, 1918 to 1920. Beneath the female figure of Liberty, named Milda, there are various sculptures symbolizing diligence, the struggle for independence, and significant historical events.
The Republic of Lithuania has been a member of the European Union since 2004, has a population of 2.8 million people, and the capital is Vilnius. In the 16th century, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was a powerful great power. Together with Poland, it formed the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, whose territory extended almost to the Black Sea. Vilnius University was built in 1579 in the Renaissance and Baroque styles. It was founded by the Jesuits in the center of the old town. On the top of the building is the coat of arms of Bishop Valerijonas Protasevicius, who invited the Jesuits to establish this educational institution to combat the Protestant Reformation. The daughter of the Duke of Milan, Bona Sforza, became Queen of Poland and Grand Duchess of Lithuania. She spread Renaissance culture in these countries, and thanks to her influence, Vilnius University was later built in the Italian style.
The Kingdom of the Netherlands has been a member of the European Union since 1952, has a population of 17.1 million people, and its capital is Amsterdam. This country has a very fitting name. Netherlands means low lands, because almost half of its territory lies below sea level. The management of land below sea level will become an increasingly important task in the future due to rising sea levels caused by climate change. The Maastricht City Hall was built between 1659 and 1664 in the Dutch Baroque style. Why does this city hall have a double staircase? This architectural design reflects Maastricht's unique system of dual governance. The city was under the control of both the States General and the Prince Bishop of Liège. The double staircase allowed each of them to ascend separately, without having to give way to the other, ensuring that neither appeared less important. The building's facade combines Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian columns.
Hoensbroek Castle in the Netherlands was built between the 14th and 17th centuries and features elements of Gothic and Maas Renaissance architecture. Today, it is known as the largest fortress between the Rhine and the Meuse. In the mid-17th century, the medieval fortress was transformed into a castle, surrounded by a deep moat. Access to the interior was only possible via a bridge.
The village of Ootmarsum in the Netherlands was built between 1196 and 1220 and features elements of Romanesque and Gothic architecture. At the center of Ootmarsum stands a Catholic church, surrounded by narrow alleys and squares. On both sides of these streets are the houses of wealthy merchants and farmers from the 17th to 19th centuries. Ootmarsum was a trading hub, as it was located on a road connecting the Netherlands with cities in northern Germany.
The Middelburg Abbey in the Netherlands was built in the 15th century in the Gothic style. Middelburg was founded in the 9th century as a burg, a fortified town and stronghold, to defend against Viking raids. The first abbey was built here in 844, but it was later replaced by a new building.
The town hall in the Dutch city of Veer was built in the 15th century in the Gothic style. Veer was once a thriving port. In the 16th century, the city became prosperous through trade in wool from Scotland.
The Wagplein in the Dutch city of Alkmaar was built between 1566 and 1603 in the Nordic Renaissance style. In 1582, after the expulsion of Spanish troops, the former Holy Spirit Chapel and its hospital were converted into a weighing hall, which became a symbol of the restoration of urban freedom. The right to weigh goods soon evolved into the right to tax trade. This is reflected in the Latin motto on the building's facade: "Courage and strength restored the lost weighing rights to the government and citizens." Nearby stands a customs pavilion, built in the 17th century, which was once used to collect city entrance taxes. Today, the Wagplein houses the Dutch Cheese Museum. Since the 17th century, the famous cheese market has been held here. Cheese carriers, dressed in traditional costumes, bring cheese wheels weighing 160 kilograms to the square, where they are tasted, compared, and sold.
The 17th century Canal Belt of Amsterdam is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The 17th century was the golden age of the Netherlands. Thanks to thriving trade, the canal belt was built in less than 50 years. Many of the houses along these canals were constructed on wooden piles, which explains their tilted appearance today.
The Munteren, Mint Tower, in Amsterdam was built in 1620 and renovated between 1885 and 1887. It is an example of Nordic Renaissance architecture. Originally, the Munteren was one of the gates of the medieval city fortifications. In the 17th century, the tower was used for minting coins, which is how it got its name. Have you noticed the 4 clock faces and the carillon with 38 bells?
The Montelbenstoren in Amsterdam is an example of Nordic Renaissance architecture. This tower was built in 1516 to defend the city after an attack on the neighboring district of Lastage. In 1606, it lost its military significance, and bells were added. In 1644, the tower was immortalized in one of the drawings by the Dutch artist Rembrandt, born 1606, died 1669. Amsterdam has 1,000 bridges, whereas Venice has only 700. This very fact earned Amsterdam the nickname Venice of the North.
The village of Orvelt in Drenthe, Netherlands, was built between the 11th and 13th centuries. The museum village of Orvelt takes visitors back to rural life in the past. Among the old farmhouses, you can find sawmills, blacksmiths, and workshops for making wooden shoes, klompen.
The windmills in Kinderdijk, Netherlands, were built in the 15th century in the Gothic style. Mills for grinding grain? Not these. These 19 monumental windmills were not built for flour but for draining land and creating farmland. Today, they are no longer in use, as the drainage of the area is now managed with electric pumps.
The houses on Duldenkade and the main tower in Hoorn, Netherlands, were built in the 16th century in the Nordic mannerism style. Hoorn still preserves traces of its once thriving maritime trading past. The facades of the houses on Duldenkade remain decorated with maritime motifs, serving as a reminder of this heritage. The semicircular tower was built to protect access to the harbor.
The Kingdom of Belgium has been a member of the European Union since 1952, has a population of 11.4 million people, and its capital is Brussels. Situated at the crossroads of major powers, this country has historically been under the rule of the Carolingians, Burgundians, Spanish, Austrians, French, and Dutch. Belgium is distinguished by its 3 official languages and a remarkably complex government system. Additionally, it was the foundation of the Benelux Union, a free trade zone established between Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Vev's Castle in Celles was built in 1230 in the Romanesque style and renovated around 1410. Situated on a rock in a strategic position in the Ree Valley, this citadel has preserved its original interior, offering an excellent insight into medieval life.
Catholicism is one of the foundations of European civilization. Despite the division between Catholicism and Orthodoxy and later with Protestantism, Christianity remained a unifying element of Europe for a long time. Its values are deeply woven into European society: respect for human life, which became the foundation of human rights, equality, mercy and solidarity, universality. Christianity also shapes the rhythm of our lives, particularly through the calendar, religious holidays, and traditions. Many cities in Europe emerged due to pilgrimage sites. The Church played a key role in the dissemination of knowledge by founding numerous universities and copying manuscripts in monasteries. Furthermore, it contributed to the preservation and spread of the Greco-Roman heritage.
The Curtius House in Liège, built between the years 1597 and 1610, combines the Meuse Renaissance style with the style of Louis XIV. The Curtius House was commissioned by Jean de Courtet, known as Curtius, an industrialist and financier from Liège. His fortune, acquired through the monopoly on supplying gunpowder to the Spanish army, enabled him to build this monumental palace on the banks of the Meuse. Today, the building is used as a museum for archaeology and applied arts.
The citadel of Dinant, Belgium, was built in 1815 in the Romanesque Renaissance style. For many years, Dinant was a strategic point on the banks of the Meuse, and various fortresses were successively constructed there. To counteract the development of military technology, the citadel was built in 1815 in a new defensive style. This earned Dinant the nickname, Fortress City. The collegiate church, also known as the Church of Our Lady, was built against a rock face, giving its architecture a unique appearance. This Gothic structure from the 13th century has preserved its grandeur despite numerous renovations. Particularly striking is its characteristic pear-shaped tower, which has become a symbol of Dinant.
The Grand Place in Brussels was built between the 12th and 19th centuries and features buildings in the Brabantine Gothic, Baroque, and Neoclassical styles. This square is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The town hall was constructed between 1401 and 1455 in the Brabantine Gothic style. In the 19th century, its facade was adorned with 294 statues of nobles, saints, and historical figures. At the top of the tower stands Saint Michael, the patron saint of Brussels, defeating a dragon. The Grand Place consists of the town hall and the guild houses, which played a central role in Brussels' economic life since the late Middle Ages. In 1695, the square was bombarded by the artillery of the French troops under Louis XIV, destroying almost all the buildings except for the town hall. After this attack, the Grand Place was completely restored while preserving its historical style and grandeur. The King's House was built between 1516 and 1536 in the Brabantine Gothic and Neo-Gothic styles. While the town hall symbolizes municipal power, the King's House reflects the influence of the Duke of Brabant, who had it built to emphasize his ducal authority. Despite its name, King's House, no king ever lived there. In Flemish, it is called Broodhuis, bread house, as it was once the center of the bread trade.
The legacy of the First World War includes massive violence and enormous human losses, both among soldiers and civilians. These sacrifices are immortalized in the graves and war memorials across Europe. This war shook European beliefs. Science was questioned, the authority of governments was rejected, and women and children took on a more active role in society while men were sent to the front lines. After the war from 1914 to 1918, the collapse of great empires, among them the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires, led to the formation of some of today's borders. Furthermore, Europe lost its status as the world's leading power. In 1914, during the First World War, enemy soldiers laid down their weapons and communicated with each other during the Christmas season. A football match was organized in no man's land, right in the middle of the war zone. This historic moment became a symbol of humanity, even in the darkest times of war.
The Town Hall of Antwerp was built between 1561 and 1565 in the style of Northern Mannerism. It is surrounded by guild houses that were constructed at the end of the 16th century. In the center of the square stands the Brabo Fountain, symbolizing one of Antwerp's most famous legends. The Roman soldier Silvius Brabo defeated the giant Antigone, who demanded tribute from passing ships. Brabo cut off the giant's hand and threw it into the Scheldt. One version of the city's name, Antwerpen, is derived from handwerpen, hand-throwing. However, the name more likely originates from on het werp, meaning, at the landing place. During the Counter-Reformation in the 16th century, the Virgin Mary was placed at the center of the town hall as a symbol of the Catholic faith. Have you also noticed the statue of the artist Rubens, born in 1577, died in 1640, which stands right in the middle of the square?
The Town Hall of Leuven was built between 1448 and 1469 in the Brabantine Gothic style. It stands as the proud landmark of the city. Its architecture resembles a reliquary, a chest for storing sacred relics, as the shape of the building is similar to a treasure chest that could preserve relics. However, the sculpture niches were not filled with historical figures until the 19th century. The sculptor created 236 statues for the Town Hall of Leuven.
The Krenlei Promenade in Ghent, Belgium, was built between the 12th and 19th centuries in the Romanesque, Brabantine Gothic, and Baroque styles. The Gralais is one of the main streets in Ghent's historic center. Its buildings, constructed in various architectural styles, blend harmoniously, giving the city its unique appearance. The oldest building on this street, De Spijker, was built around the year 1200. Ghent was long a center of the grain trade in Flanders, which is reflected in the name Krenlei, meaning grain quay. The name Ghent originates from the Gallic word Ganda, meaning place of confluence, referring to the city's location at the intersection of the Scheldt and Lys rivers.
The Rabbit in Ghent was built in 1491 in the Brabantine Gothic style. It is a sluice with two round towers that served both as a hydraulic structure and as part of Ghent's defense system.
The Tanner Square in Bruges, Belgium, was built in the 17th century in the Brabantine Gothic style and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The Tanners, masters of leatherworking, established their headquarters on this square as early as 1302. In the 17th century, the guild houses were built here, symbolizing Bruges' wealth and influence as a trade center. Thanks to its history and architecture, the square remains one of the most significant sites of Bruges' medieval heritage today.
The Belfry of Bruges was built between the 13th and 15th centuries in a Gothic brick construction and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The Belfry is a symbol of Bruges' independence, as it housed the city's charters, records, and important treaties. This medieval bell tower also served as a defensive structure, warning the inhabitants of fires and other dangers. The old market halls connected to the belfry reflect the grandeur of Bruges in the 13th century when the city was one of Europe's largest trade centers.
Alden Biezen Castle in Rijkoven, Belgium, was built between the 16th and 17th centuries in the Meuse Renaissance style. Since the 16th century, the castle belonged to the Teutonic Order, a knightly organization dedicated to protecting the Christian faith and assisting the poor, the sick, and pilgrims. The Teutonic Order played a crucial role in the founding of many cities in Eastern Europe, some of which later became the core territory of Prussia.
The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland was a member of the European Union from 1973 to 2020. It has a population of 66.2 million people, and its capital is London. The United Kingdom is known for its island location, which separates it from the rest of the European mainland. However, its Celtic population was historically complemented by the arrival of the Angles and Saxons of Germanic origin, as well as the Normans. This independence has shaped the country's often turbulent relationship with the European Union. The offshore drilling platforms in northern Scotland remain operational, despite numerous European efforts to replace fossil fuels with more environmentally friendly alternatives.
The Cutty Sark is a famous clipper that was used for transporting perishable goods. It was one of the last great sailing ships built by the British. For 10 years, it held the speed record but was eventually overtaken by steamships. The ship's figurehead represents the witch Nanny D, a character from Robert Burns' 1791 poem.
The Palace of Westminster in London was built between 1840 and 1876 in the Neo-Gothic Renaissance style and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The massive Westminster Palace contains 3 kilometers of corridors. With a length of 286 meters, this building serves as the seat of the British Parliament. When Parliament is in session, the flag is hoisted on the 102-meter-high Victoria Tower. At the other end of the palace stands its most recognizable landmark, Big Ben, the famous clock with its 14-ton bell.
Stratford-upon-Avon, a town in the English county of Warwickshire near Birmingham, is the birthplace of William Shakespeare. The house where Shakespeare was born was built in the 16th century in the half-timbered style. William Shakespeare, born in 1564, died in 1616, is regarded as one of the greatest poets, playwrights, and writers in English and world literature. His most famous works include the plays Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet.
Longleat House in Horningsham, England, was built between 1568 and 1580 in the Elizabethan style. It is an example of perfect symmetry. The Marquess of Bath wanted his estate to be a masterpiece of Elizabethan architecture. The 7 small domes on the roof symbolize the days of the week, while the 365 windows represent each day of the year.
The Dover Castle was built between 1568 and 1580 in the Elizabethan style. It is the largest castle in England and stands atop the imposing white chalk cliffs, overlooking the English Channel. The construction of Dover Castle was ordered by William the Conqueror, the leader of the Franco-Norman army and the victor of the Battle of Hastings against the English army in 1066. The Normans and Vikings were the last conquerors of Great Britain.
The Royal Crescent is a continuous row of 30 houses forming a crescent-shaped arc. It is located in the city of Bath, Somerset, southwest England. The structure was designed by the architect John Wood the Younger and built between 1767 and 1774. As a classic example of late Georgian architecture, the Royal Crescent was added to the list of protected UNESCO buildings in 1950. Bath is a city known for its healing thermal springs. According to legend, the hot mineral springs were discovered by Bladud in 800 BC. Bladud, a leper and the son of a king, was banished and became a swineherd. His pigs, which were also sick, wandered into the spring and were miraculously healed. Seeing this, Bladud entered the water himself, recovered, and was able to return to his father's court.
Ireland has been a member of the European Union since 1973, with a population of 4.8 million people, and its capital is Dublin. The country has 2 official languages, English and Irish. Ireland is called the Emerald Isle, so dominant is the color green in its landscape. From lush meadows to shamrocks and the hats of St. Patrick, the color green is present everywhere. In the 5th century, St. Patrick, a missionary and Christian bishop, used the shamrock to explain the doctrine of the Holy Trinity to the Irish. The castle on the Rock of St. Patrick in Cashel was built in the 12th century in the Romanesque and Gothic styles. This monument is not only one of the most important centers of Celtic art and medieval architecture in Europe but also one of the oldest testimonies of Christianity in Ireland. For a long time, this rocky hill served as the residence of the kings of Munster, one of Ireland's historical regions. In 1101, the castle was handed over to the church. By order of King and Prince Bishop Cormac MacCarthy, Cormac's Chapel was built here.
France has been a member of the European Union since 1952, with a population of 67.2 million people, and its capital is Paris. From the 11th century to the early 14th century, the French language spread worldwide and was used in royal courts across Europe. Today, 235 million people speak French daily around the world. The legacy of the 18th century Enlightenment plays a significant role in Europe's development. The thinkers of the Enlightenment favored science over religion, believed in the possibility of human self-improvement through critical thinking, and upheld values such as the separation of secular and religious power, individual freedoms, the abolition of slavery. The literary salons became centers for the emergence of a more enlightened, critically thinking, and politically active society that sought to determine its own future. They challenged traditional authorities and paved the way for future changes, ultimately leading to the French Revolution and other revolutionary movements. The philosophers Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Immanuel Kant, Voltaire, and Denis Diderot made significant contributions to the development of numerous fields, including philosophy, politics, ethics, science, and art.
The French Revolution solidified the ideas of the Enlightenment, mobilized the bourgeoisie, raised political awareness, and led to profound changes not only in France but throughout Europe. Its influence was evident in the spread of the principle of meritocracy, rule based on merit, state control, establishment of the Court of Auditors, democratic reforms, such as the French Constitution, the Napoleonic Code, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, the introduction of a school system, lycées, accessible to all. At the beginning of the 18th century, capitalism began to take shape as an economic system. The technological revolution led to increased productivity, the rise of factories, and the development of various new machines, such as spinning and weaving machines. Coal started to give way to new energy sources, and the first railway lines were constructed. Through exports, Europe emerged as a global economic power. Falling commodity prices changed consumption habits. Society became divided into the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, which led to the rise of labor unions and the further development of socialist ideas.
The Eiffel Tower in Paris was built in the industrial style based on the design of Gustave Eiffel for the 1889 World's Fair in Paris. With a height of 300 meters, it gradually silenced its critics and became a true national symbol.
The Centre National d'Art et de Culture Georges Pompidou in Paris was built in 1977 in the postmodern style. Named after French President Georges Pompidou, a great admirer of modern art, the center is dedicated to contemporary and modern art. It represents an architectural innovation, with its structural framework and technical installations placed on the exterior. This design allowed for a freely configurable interior space, ideal for exhibitions and cultural events.
The Arc de Triomphe in Paris was built between 1806 and 1836 in the neoclassical style. It stands at the center of Place Charles de Gaulle and was commissioned by Napoleon to honor the victories of the armies of the Revolution and the Empire. Its stone surface is engraved with the names of 600 generals and 150 battles. Beneath the arch rests the Unknown Soldier, one of the first tributes to a citizen who voluntarily joined the army to defend his country. The structure was inspired by the triumphal arches of ancient Rome but stands out due to its significantly larger size. The Arc de Triomphe reaches nearly 50 meters in height.
The Basilica of Sacré-Cœur on Montmartre in Paris was built between 1875 and 1923 in the Romanesque Byzantine style. The construction of Sacré-Cœur was initiated at the request of the population after the end of the Franco-Prussian War. The defeat was perceived as divine punishment, and the church was erected as a sign of penance and atonement. At the entrance of the basilica stand the statues of Louis IX and Joan of Arc, symbolically guarding the site. One of the most striking features is the brilliant white color of its stone. The basilica is built from Siegesteinskalksten, a white, extremely fine-grained limestone quarried in Chateau-Landen and Suppsurloing. Architect Paul Abbey selected this limestone for its durability and its self-cleaning properties when exposed to water. The stone releases silicon dioxide, which helps maintain its bright white appearance over time.
The Closs de Vougiat Castle was built between the 12th and 16th centuries in the Romanesque and Renaissance styles. The Closs de Vougiat vineyard has been producing Burgundy wines since the 12th century. Originally, viticulture was managed by the monks of the Abbey of Citeaux, and over time, these wines gained prestigious status. Some medieval wine presses have been preserved to this day. In the 15th century, a monastic barn was built on the estate, followed by the manor house in the 16th century.
The Château de Chenonceau, built in the 16th century, combines Gothic and Renaissance architectural styles. Among the famous castles of the Loire Valley, Chenonceau is known as the Castle of the Ladies because women played a defining role in its history for centuries. One of the most notable figures was Diane de Poitiers, the favorite of King Henry II, who received the chateau as a gift. After the king's death, the rightful queen, Catherine de Medici, expelled Diane and reclaimed the chateau for the crown. Today, this unique castle, distinguished by its iconic gallery bridge spanning the river Cher, is one of the most visited private historical monuments in France. This jewel of French architecture, along with its surrounding gardens, was completed in just 2 years.
Some European ports served as departure points for caravels in search of the New World, such as Le Havre in France. Today, ports primarily serve a commercial function and act as transit hubs for millions of tons of containerized cargo. The largest ports in Europe include Rotterdam, Netherlands, Antwerp, Belgium, Marseille, France, Hamburg, Germany.
The journey between Brussels and Paris on the high-speed Eurostar train takes only 1 hour and 22 minutes, 315 kilometers. Since 1996, the Eurostar has been the fastest transport link between these two cities. In addition to France and Belgium, the Eurostar also operates routes to Germany and the Netherlands. Overall, the European Union is traversed by more than 140,000 kilometers of railway tracks.
The Royal Saltworks of Arc-et-Senans was built in the 18th century in an industrial style. Until 1895, it was used for the extraction of white gold, salt, which was essential at the time for food preservation. Moreover, the salt tax was one of the monarchy's most important sources of revenue. The saltworks was constructed during the reign of Louis XVI according to the plans of architect Claude Nicolas Ledoux. It was designed as an ideal industrial settlement. The administrator, officials, and workers lived separately, yet the entire structure integrated residential buildings and workshops into a unified whole.
The Ariane launch vehicle is used to improve communication and explore our planet. Since 1979, the European Space Agency has been launching satellites into space. The launch site is located in Kourou, in French Guiana, an overseas territory of France that is part of the European Union. In Mini Europa Park, you can watch a simulation of this rocket launch.
Portugal has been a member of the European Union since 1986, with a population of 10.3 million people, and its capital is Lisbon. Portugal pursued economic prosperity through maritime trade and played a key role in the age of great geographical discoveries. Vasco da Gama was the first European to reach India by sea in 1498. Ferdinand Magellan gave his name to the Strait of Magellan in southern South America, opening the route to the Pacific. Amerigo Vespucci, a Florentine in the service of Portugal, discovered Brazil. The Belém Tower, built in the 16th century in the Portuguese Renaissance style, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This fortress, a true shield for the port, was constructed in two parts, a tower and a citadel that extends over the Tagus River like the bow of a ship. From here, many navigators set sail on their journeys to the New World.
The Ocean Pavilion in Lisbon was built in 1998 in the postmodern style. This aquarium was specifically constructed for the 1998 World Expo. World expositions have been held in Europe since 1851 to showcase the latest industrial achievements. They serve as an outstanding example of the European entrepreneurial spirit.
The Cais de Ribeira in Porto is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Ribeira Promenade is a characteristic landmark of Porto, known for its stone houses and ceramic tiles, called azulejos. Here, architecture, gastronomy, commerce, and traditions blend into a unique ensemble along the Portuguese waterfront.
The Castle of Guimarães was built in 950 in the Romanesque and Gothic military style and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city of Guimarães is closely linked to Portugal's national identity. It was the capital of the Duchy of Portugal, which was held by Henry of Burgundy, a knight of the Crusades in the east. His son, Afonso Henriques, became the first king of Portugal and made the castle of Guimarães his royal residence.
With a rich Roman past, the Algarve in Portugal is now a popular tourist region, known for its pleasant climate and stunning beaches.
Spain has been a member of the European Union since 1986, with a population of 46.7 million people, and its capital is Madrid. During the Habsburg era, Spain was a powerful European empire with numerous colonial territories. In modern Spanish autonomy policy, significant regional independence has been granted, particularly in the Basque Country, Galicia, and Andalusia. Each of these regions has its own languages, which are used alongside Spanish, the country's primary language. The royal complex of El Escorial is located 50 kilometers from Madrid. Built between 1563 and 1584 in the Renaissance style, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its architectural layout was inspired by the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. In the 16th century, King Philip II expanded the complex to include a pantheon, a basilica, a monastery, a school, and a library housing nearly 35,000 books. Inside El Escorial, there are 26 royal tombs of kings and queens, along with approximately 7,000 relics. The building symbolizes the ideological and artistic grandeur of the Spanish Catholic monarchy during the Golden Age, from the early 16th century to the late 17th century.
Don Quixote and his loyal companion Sancho Panza traversed the lonely plains of La Mancha. This is a reference to the literary masterpiece written by Miguel de Cervantes in 1605. Behind them rise the windmills against which the knight fights, believing he is restoring justice to the world. The novel is a parody of medieval customs, chivalric ideals, and the rigid social structures of Spain's Golden Age.
The Plaza de Toros in Seville was built in 1881 in the Baroque style. During the traditional bullfight, 3 matadors face 6 bulls. After exhausting the animal with the red cape, known as the muleta, the matador delivers the fatal blow by thrusting his sword between the bull's shoulder blades to pierce its heart. Some see this spectacle as barbaric, while others consider it a cultural heritage or even an art form. In Seville, the corrida continues to be held in the Plaza de Toros.
The Columbus Monument in Barcelona was built for the 1888 Barcelona World Expo. This column is a tribute to the explorer Christopher Columbus, the first European to dare to attempt the western route to India. From the top of the 57-meter-high monument, there is a breathtaking view of the port of Barcelona. The Santa Maria was a caravel, a relatively small ship that was easy to maneuver and allowed for the exploration of the open sea. Its construction in 1492 symbolizes the spirit of discovery among Europeans, who were inspired by the Renaissance.
The Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela was built between the 11th and 13th centuries and incorporates various architectural styles: Romanesque, Gothic, Plateresque, and Baroque. It was constructed on the site where the relics of the Apostle James, also known as Santiago the Elder, one of the disciples of Jesus Christ, were discovered. Alongside Rome and Jerusalem, this site is one of the most important Christian sanctuaries and a major center of pilgrimage. Pilgrimages often also served as a means of conquest and territorial expansion.
Malta has been a member of the European Union since 2004, with a population of 500,000 people, and its capital is Valletta. Located just 90 kilometers south of Sicily, Malta is an archipelago composed of rocks, small islets, and 8 islands, of which only 4 are inhabited. Due to its strategic location in the Mediterranean, Malta has been the target of numerous conquests and invasions by various powers. Since 1964, Malta has been independent from Great Britain. The Najdra temple dates back to 3600 to 3200 BC and belongs to the megalithic era. Alongside other Maltese temples, it is considered one of the oldest stone temples in the world, built nearly 800 years before the Great Pyramids of Giza and Stonehenge in Britain. Who built this temple? We know very little about the civilization that constructed it. This was a people who came from Sicily and mysteriously disappeared around 2500 BC. The builders of the Najdra temple had no knowledge of iron. The enormous stone blocks and intricate carvings were created using only simple flint tools.
Italy has been a member of the European Union since 1952, with a population of 60.5 million people, and its capital is Rome. Italy is one of the greatest cradles of European culture, particularly due to the vast influence of the Roman Empire and the rapid spread of the Italian Renaissance. Its mountainous landscape favored the development of independent cities and republics, which often competed fiercely with one another. It was not until the 19th century that a centralized state emerged, leading to the formation of modern Italy. The Calypso, a former minesweeper of the Royal Navy, was converted into a research vessel for Jacques Cousteau, the French naval officer and underwater explorer. Jacques Cousteau is particularly known for inventing the self-contained diving apparatus in 1942 and for advancing underwater film technology.
The Trevi Fountain in Rome was built between 1732 and 1762 in the Baroque style. It is the largest fountain in Rome and, together with the facade of the adjacent Palazzo Pali, forms a magnificent architectural sculptural ensemble in the late Roman Baroque style, with elements of classicism. The fountain was designed by architect Niccolò Salvi. Its central statue represents Neptune, the god of the sea. The sculptural decoration of the fountain, particularly the statues of Neptune and the allegories of water, was created by the renowned Baroque sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini.
From a height of 1,281 meters, Mount Vesuvius erupts with deadly lava, which took the inhabitants of Pompeii by surprise in 79 AD. This volcano is the only replica in Mini-Europe that does not follow the 1/25 scale, as, in this case, it would have reached a height of 51 meters.
The Trulli of Alberobello are buildings from the 18th century. The town of Alberobello is known for its small houses, which were built from limestone, with conical roofs and whitewashed walls.
The Palazzo Pubblico in Siena, Italy, was built between the years 1297 and 1344 in the Romanesque and Gothic styles. Located at the Piazza del Campo, the town hall features a bell tower, the 102-meter-high Torre del Mangia, which was designed to be taller than the tower of the neighboring and rival city of Florence. As was common at the time, the clock of the tower originally had only one hand.
The Campo dei Miracoli, the Field of Miracles, in the Italian city of Pisa, was created between the 11th and 14th centuries. It consists of buildings in the Romanesque and Gothic styles. The Cathedral of Santa Maria Assunta was built between the years 1064 and 1091. This large Romanesque cathedral was constructed in honor of the victory of the Pisan fleet over Palermo. The building, made of white and green marble, reflects international influences and combines elements of the classical and Byzantine styles. The Baptistry of St. John, a building designated for performing baptisms, was constructed between the years 1152 and 1363. It is the largest baptistry in Italy and illustrates the transition from the Romanesque to the Gothic style. The Campanile, also known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, was built between the years 1173 and 1372. When the 55-meter-high tower was completed, it began to tilt, and the builders were no longer able to straighten it. Eventually, they decided to compensate for the tilt in the upper floors, giving the building a curved shape reminiscent of a banana.
The Campanile, the bell tower in Venice, was built in the year 1514 in the Renaissance style. Each of the 5 bells in the belfry had its own special purpose. Rangira announced executions, Mezza Terza signaled the beginning of the Senate session, Nona rang at noon, Tradera called the council together, and Marangona marked the beginning and end of the workday.
The Doge's Palace in Venice was built in the year 1340 in the Gothic style. This palace was the residence of the Doge of Venice, the supreme ruler of the former Venetian Republic. Additionally, it served as a meeting place for the government and the judicial tribunal.
The Villa Rotunda in Vicenza, Italy, was built in the year 1592 in the Renaissance style. Behind its apparent simplicity lies a complex architectural design. Each of the 4 facades features identical porticos with monumental staircases, emphasizing architect Andrea Palladio's pursuit of perfect symmetry. His style was inspired by Roman classicism.
Germany has been a member of the European Union since the year 1952, has a population of 82.9 million people, and its capital is Berlin. Between the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, the German Confederation, the German Empire, the Federal Republic of Germany, the German Democratic Republic, and unified Germany after the year 1990, there have been so many changes in borders and political projects. The reunification of the 2 Germanys was and remains a real challenge both for Germany itself and for the European Union. The Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, built between the years 1788 and 1791 in the neoclassical style, originally served as an entrance to the Old City. After World War II, it became part of the Berlin Wall. Today, both the gate and the wall symbolized the democratization of the East and the reunification of Germany in the year 1989 after the fall of the wall. Atop the Brandenburg Gate is the Quadriga, a sculpture of a triumphal chariot driven by the goddess of victory. In the year 1806, Napoleon took it to Paris, but in the year 1814, the Quadriga was returned to Berlin.
The Holstentor was built in the year 1464 in Lübeck in the Gothic style and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The Holstentor marks the western boundary of Lübeck, one of the largest cities of the Hanseatic League from the 11th to the 17th century, a coalition of trading cities in the North and Baltic Seas. These cities held special privileges and played not only an economic but also a political role for a long time. The second tower, the Berg Tor, is a preserved relic of the medieval fortifications. Additionally, Lübeck has retained its salt warehouses, storage buildings used for keeping salt, one of the most important trade goods of the Hanseatic League.
Tear down this wall. With these words, US President Ronald Reagan spoke at the Brandenburg Gate in the year 1987, calling on the Soviet Communist Party to demolish the Berlin Wall, which had been built in the year 1961. The wall was torn down in the year 1989, and this event became one of the key moments in the history of Germany and Europe. In Mini-Europe, there is an authentic fragment of the Berlin Wall.
The Cathedral of the Assumption of Mary and St. Stephen in Spire was built between the years 1030 and 1061 in the Romanesque style and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. For over 3 centuries, the cathedral in Spire served as the main burial site for the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation. In the year 1529, at the Diet of Spire, a gathering of the rulers of the empire, it was decided to prohibit any religious reforms. This led to the Protest of Spire. 6 princes and 14 German cities forced Emperor Charles V to recognize the Protestant Reformation. Its founder, Martin Luther, is commemorated here with a statue.
The Millennium Tower in Magdeburg was built in the year 1999 in the postmodern style. It has a height of 60 meters and is one of the tallest towers in Germany. The deliberately inclined tower takes visitors through an exhibition that depicts 6,000 years of human history. The tower has 6 floors, 5 of which house the historical exhibition.
The Beethoven House in Bonn was built in the 17th century in the Baroque style. In this pink-colored house, the great composer Ludwig van Beethoven was born in the year 1770. His family originated from Mechelen in Belgium. Beethoven was extraordinarily talented and quickly became a well-known musician. At the age of 16, he was employed as a musician at the court chapel, and 6 years later, he left Bonn permanently to settle in Vienna. Beethoven composed the Ninth Symphony, whose final chorus, Ode to Joy, was chosen in the year 1985 as the anthem of the European Union.
Burg Eltz in Germany, located in the state of Rhineland-Palatinate, lies in the mountains near Wiersholm and was built in the 12th century. Its architecture combines Romanesque, Gothic, and Baroque fortification styles. Since its construction in the 12th century, Burg Eltz has undergone numerous changes. Since the Middle Ages, the estate has been jointly managed by 3 hereditary lines. Each of these families contributed to the architecture of the castle by adding towers, residential buildings, and fortifications. Today, the castle still remains in the possession of the descendants of the Counts of Eltz.
The Weiskirche is a Roman Catholic pilgrimage church located in Weiss, a district of the Bavarian municipality of Steingaden. This outstanding Rococo sacred monument, completed in the year 1754, is considered the masterpiece of the brothers Johann Baptist and Dominicus Zimmermann. Since the year 1983, the church has been part of the UNESCO World Heritage. Its design incorporates the trompe-l'oeil technique, which creates an optical illusion of 3-dimensional reliefs.
The Porta Nigra in the German city of Trier was built as early as the year 180 AD. It is an example of Roman architecture and the largest preserved Roman structure in Trier. It received its name, Black Gate, due to the dark patina on the stone. This monument reflects Trier's former significance, as the city was once known as the Rome of the North. At that time, Trier served as the residence of the Gallic Prefecture, one of the highest governing bodies of the Western Roman Empire, whose territory extended from Morocco to Britain.
The Grand Duchy of Luxembourg has been a member of the European Union since the year 1952, has a population of 0.6 million people, and its capital is Luxembourg City. In the year 963, Count Siegfried, a descendant of the Carolingian dynasty, acquired a rocky promontory, on top of which stood a small fortress called Le Salenberg. The name Luxembourg originates from this, first referring to the city and later to the entire country. The Adolphe Bridge, built between the years 1900 and 1903, was named after Grand Duke Adolphe and was the first stone arch bridge of its length, 84 meters, to be constructed entirely from natural stone. This bridge is regarded as an outstanding example of technical mastery.
Poland has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 38 million people, and its capital is Warsaw. Due to its central location in Europe, Poland has frequently experienced territorial changes throughout history. One of the most tragic moments was the year 1795, when the country ceased to exist entirely. Its territories were divided among three neighboring states, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Poland regained its independence only in the year 1918, after the end of World War I. The Artist Court in Gdansk was built between the years 1348 and 1350 in the Nordic Mannerist style. It was designed by a Dutch architect as a meeting place for wealthy merchants of the Hanseatic League, the alliance of northern European trading cities. Its facade is adorned with statues of kings and mythological figures. Opposite the building stands the Neptune Fountain, which was created in the 17th century and symbolizes Gdansk's maritime character.
Czechia has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 10.6 million people, and its capital is Prague. It is a very young country, established in 1993 after the dissolution of Czechoslovakia. The Prague Spring in the year 1968 expressed the desire for the liberalization of certain aspects of the communist regime, but it was brutally suppressed by the Soviet Union. Czechia consists of the historic regions of Bohemia and Moravia. The Old Town Hall in Prague was built between the 14th and 19th centuries in the Gothic and Renaissance styles and is part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The unique mechanism of the astronomical clock displays local time, diurnal time, dividing the day into 12 parts. Time according to Old Czech hours, the position of the sun and moon, zodiac constellations, sidereal time, and moon phases. The clock was created in the year 1410, and in 1490, a calendar was added. In the 17th century, moving figures were introduced, and in 1865, the apostles were incorporated, appearing at the top of the hour.
Slovakia has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 5.4 million people, and its capital is Bratislava. For over 2 centuries, Slovakia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The city of Pressburg was once the capital of Hungary, but after the establishment of Czechoslovakia in the year 1919, it was given a new name, Bratislava. In the year 1993, Czechoslovakia was peacefully divided into 2 independent states, Slovakia and Czechia. The Blue Church in Bratislava was built between the years 1909 and 1913 in the Art Nouveau style. It is dedicated to Saint Elizabeth of Hungary, the daughter of King Andrew II. From a young age, Elizabeth was inspired by the ideals of Saint Francis of Assisi. She chose to renounce her luxurious life to dedicate herself to helping the poor. Her story reflects the close historical ties between Bratislava and the Hungarian kingdom.
Romania has been a member of the European Union since the year 2007, has a population of 19.5 million people, and its capital is Bucharest. The name Romania emerged in the 19th century and derives from the Romans, referring to the Latin-speaking population. In the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire, the inhabitants continued to call themselves Romans. The dark figure of Count Dracula, the immortal vampire from Transylvania, was created by British writer Bram Stoker in the year 1897. His name is linked to the 15th century Romanian Prince Vlad III Dracula, also known as Vlad Tepes, the Impaler. The Mogasoa Palace, built between the years 1698 and 1702, combines Orthodox Christian and Islamic elements, characteristic of Ottoman architecture. The construction of this palace was commissioned by the Wallachian Prince Constantine Brâncoveanu.
Hungary has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 9.8 million people, and its capital is Budapest. Hungary was founded at the end of the 9th century by Prince Arpad, a military leader who conquered the territory. From the 16th century onward, Hungary lost its independence and was successively ruled by the Ottoman Empire, the Habsburg Empire, and finally the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. Hungary's modern borders were established in the year 1920, after World War I, when it lost 71% of its original territory. The Hungarian language belongs to the Finno-Ugric language family, along with Estonian and Finnish. The Székely thermal baths in Budapest are the largest thermal baths in Europe. They were built between the years 1913 and 1927 in the Neo-Baroque and Neo-Renaissance styles and are part of the UNESCO World Heritage. The water temperature varies in the pools and is believed to help with rheumatism, osteoarthritis, and muscle pain. The thermal water is sourced from a depth of almost 960 meters. The baths are named in honor of Istvan Sekenyi, a 19th century reformer and writer.
Croatia has been a member of the European Union since the year 2013, has a population of 4.1 million people, and its capital is Zagreb. Throughout its history, Croatia has been at the crossroads of major cultures. At different times, it was influenced by the Romans, Byzantines, Venetians, Austro-Hungarians, and Ottomans. Since the year 1991, following the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Croatia has been an independent state. The Church of St. Mark in Zagreb was built in the 13th century in the Romanesque and Gothic styles. The portal of the church is adorned with sculptures of Joseph, Mary, Jesus, the 12 apostles, and the evangelist Mark, symbolically represented by a lion. The colorful tiled roof, made of glazed ceramic tiles, was added only in the year 1880. It features the coat of arms of Zagreb, a white castle on a red background, as well as the coats of arms of Croatia, Slavonia, and Dalmatia.
Slovenia has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 2.1 million people, and its capital is Ljubljana. Slovenia emerged as an independent state after the dissolution of Yugoslavia and was the first of the former Yugoslav countries to join the European Union. The Prešeren Square is the central square of Ljubljana, named after Franz Prešeren, the greatest Slovenian poet. It serves as the cultural and historical center of the city and is home to the Franciscan Church of the Annunciation, the Prešeren Monument, and the famous Triple Bridge, designed by Joseph Plečnik. The Franciscan Church of the Annunciation was built between the years 1646 and 1660 in the Baroque style. Its red facade is a reference to the Franciscan order. At the top of the church stands a statue of the Madonna with the child Jesus, inscribed with the words, "Rejoice, Mary, full of grace."
Bulgaria has been a member of the European Union since the year 2007, has a population of 7.3 million people, and its capital is Sofia. The Bulgarian state first emerged in the 7th century. In the year 913, Tsar Simeon I, the title, Tsar, derives from the word Caesar, ruled an empire stretching from the Black Sea to the Adriatic Sea. Over the centuries, Bulgaria was part of the Byzantine Empire, came under Ottoman rule, and was later influenced by the Russian Empire. The country gained its final independence in the year 1990. The Rila Monastery in Bulgaria was founded in the year 927 and has been rebuilt multiple times. Its architecture incorporates elements of the Renaissance, Baroque, and Gothic styles. The monastery was established by the Orthodox hermit Saint Ivan of Rila, who had a profound spiritual influence. Today, the Rila Monastery is a symbol of Bulgarian cultural identity and has been transformed into an educational and cultural center.
Austria has been a member of the European Union since the year 1995, has a population of 8.8 million people, and its capital is Vienna. Until the year 1918, the Austrian Empire covered an area of approximately 650,000 square kilometers. The Austrian flag is the oldest national flag in Europe, first appearing in the year 1230, shortly after Austria's emergence as a distinct entity. The name Austria, in German, Österreich, meaning Eastern Land, was first mentioned in the year 996. At that time, it referred to the northeastern part of present-day Austria, where the Babenberg dynasty laid the foundations of the Austrian monarchy. The Melk Abbey was built in the 11th century. During the rule of the Babenberg dynasty, Melk served as the capital of Austria. The monastery is situated on a rocky hill overlooking the Danube River. On either side of the main balcony, statues of the apostles Peter and Paul, the patron saints of the church, stand symbolically dominating the building.
The Republic of Cyprus has been a member of the European Union since the year 2004, has a population of 0.9 million people, and its capital is Nicosia. The island of Cyprus received its name from the word Kupros, which means copper. Geographically, it is located in Asia. In the year 1960, Cyprus gained its independence from Great Britain. In the year 1974, after a coup d'état that supported the union of Cyprus with Greece, Turkey marched into the northern part of the island and declared that it wanted to protect the Turkish minority. Today, all of Cyprus officially belongs to the European Union. However, the northern part of the island is de facto independent from the south. The Kourion Theatre in Limassol, built in the 2nd century BC, is a monument of ancient Greek and Roman architecture. It offers seating for 3,500 spectators.
Greece has been a member of the European Union since the year 1981, has a population of 10.8 million people, and its capital is Athens. Although the inhabitants of Greece are referred to as Greeks today, they have been known by different names throughout history. In late antiquity, they called themselves Romans, as the Byzantine Empire considered itself the successor of Rome. Later, they began identifying as Greeks before the term Hellenes finally became dominant. In the year 1830, after the War of Independence against the Ottoman Empire, the first independent Greek state was established. The Acropolis of Athens, built in the 5th century BC, is a monument of ancient Greek architecture and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This hill is considered the cradle of democracy, philosophy, theater, freedom of speech, and the fundamental values of modern society. Additionally, the Athenian Acropolis was used as a sanctuary dedicated to the 12 Olympian gods. The Parthenon is dedicated to the patron goddess of the city, Athena. It is a masterpiece of Doric architecture and one of the most significant monuments of ancient Greece. The Propylaea are the monumental gates leading into the Athenian Acropolis and have inspired numerous European architectural structures. The Temple of Athena Nike is the oldest temple on the Acropolis. Built in the Ionic style, it is dedicated to Athena Nike, the goddess symbolizing military victory.
Dear friends, our exciting adventure through the Mini Europa Park has now come to an end. Today, we have embarked on a fascinating journey together, exploring some of Europe's most significant landmarks and admiring their history, culture, and architecture in miniature. We have wandered through the streets of historic cities, marveled at magnificent castles and cathedrals, and discovered the most famous monuments and landmarks of various countries. Along the way, we have learned many new and interesting things about Europe, its traditions, and customs. I hope this journey will remain in your memory for a long time, bringing you unforgettable experiences and positive emotions. May this not be our last adventure together, until we meet again on new and exciting journeys. See you soon, dear friends.